The sound of his breathing on the other side of the classroom door wasn't like breathing at all. It was wet, deliberate, and he was listening for us. What I'm about to share with you are 3 accounts from real lockdowns where something went very, very wrong. Story 1. The substitute. It was a Tuesday in October, 3rd period, and I was failing chemistry. Mr. Henshaw had this way of making you feel stupid without saying a word. Just that look over his glasses when you got an answer wrong. So when the substitute walked in that morning, there was this collective exhale in the room. We didn't know her. She was older, maybe 60s, with grey hair pulled back tight and this long coat she didn't take off even though the radiator made the room stuffy. She wrote her name on the board in shaky letters. Mrs. Voss. Mr. Henshaw is out sick, she said, her voice flat. We'll be reviewing chapter 9. Nobody cared. I was texting under my desk. Maria was braiding her hair. It was just another boring class in a week full of them. The kind of day where you're already thinking about lunch by 9 a.m. Then Mrs. Voss locked the door. Not unusual, really. Some teachers did that to keep kids from wandering in late. But she locked it, tested the handle twice, and stood there facing us for a long moment without speaking. We're going to stay very quiet today, she said. 20 minutes passed. She didn't teach. She just sat at Mr. Henshaw's desk, staring at the door. When Jordan asked if we should be taking notes, she shushed him, sharp, like you'd scold a dog. Then she stood and moved to the window, drew the blinds, all of them. The room fell into this dim half-light that made everything feel smaller. Mrs. Voss? Maria's voice was cautious. Are we doing a drill or something? No talking. That's when I noticed her hands. They were shaking, not like nervous shaking, like she was cold, even in that coat. She kept glancing at the door, then at the clock, then back at the door. My phone buzzed. A message from my friend in the classroom next door. You guys have a sub too? I typed back. Yeah, why? Ours is acting weird. I looked up. Mrs. Voss was standing in the corner now, partially hidden behind the filing cabinet, still watching the door. Her lips were moving, but no sound came out. Like she was counting. Someone giggled nervously. The sound died fast. The intercom crackled at 9:47. Attention staff and students. We are entering a lockdown. This is not a drill. Secure all classroom doors, turn off lights, and remain silent. Do not open your door for any reason. My stomach dropped. We'd done lockdown drills before, but this felt different. There was tension in the principal's voice, a tightness. Mrs. Voss didn't move. She was still in that corner, coat buttoned to her throat, eyes locked on the door. Shouldn't we? Someone started. Quiet. Her voice cracked. Don't move. Don't make a sound. We all shuffled away from the windows, huddled near the back of the room like we'd been taught. My heart was pounding. Maria grabbed my wrist. Outside in the hallway, we could hear footsteps. Slow, methodical, moving past classrooms, stopping, then continuing. Then we heard a door handle rattle. Not ours, somewhere close. Someone testing doors. Mrs. Voss pressed herself flatter against the wall. In the dim light, I could see her face clearly now. She wasn't scared. She was terrified. He's looking for me, she whispered. The footsteps stopped outside our door. I stopped breathing. We all did. The handle turned. Slowly. Testing. The lock held. But whoever was out there didn't leave. We could hear him now. Breathing. Heavy, wet, like he'd been running. Or crying. Then he spoke. Eleanor. Mrs. Voss made a sound I'll never forget. This broken, animal whimper. Eleanor, I know you're in one of these rooms. His voice was calm. Too calm. We need to talk. About what you did. He knocked. 3 deliberate knocks, right at eye level on the door. You can't hide from this. Maria's nails were digging into my arm. Jordan had gone completely white. The substitute was shaking so hard I could hear her coat rustling. The man outside waited. We could see his shadow under the door, 2 feet, standing perfectly still. 30 seconds. A minute. The only sound was our collective held breath and the wet, steady breathing. Then his phone rang. Out in the hallway. A normal ringtone, jarringly casual. Yeah, he answered. His voice changed, professional now. Annoyed. I'm still on campus. No, I haven't found her yet. She's in one of the classrooms. A pause. I will. I know what she looks like. Footsteps. Moving away. Growing distant. We sat in the dark for another 40 minutes. Mrs. Voss never moved from that corner. When the all clear finally came, when we heard keys in the lock and thought it was actually campus security, she was gone. The window was open. The coat left behind on the floor. We never saw her again. Later, we found out there was no substitute scheduled for Mr. Henshaw that day. He'd been in the teacher's lounge all morning, perfectly healthy. Nobody named Eleanor Voss worked for the district, and when I walked past the classroom the next week, I noticed something I'd missed before. Scratch marks on the inside of the door, near the handle. Deep ones. Old, like someone had tried to claw their way out. Some lockdowns end when the danger passes, but sometimes you realize the danger was already inside. Story 2. The Basement Protocol. Our school was old, built in the 50s, all brick and narrow hallways and radiators that clanged like someone was hitting them with a wrench. Most of it had been renovated, made modern, but the basement was original. Still had those cage lights and pipes running across the ceiling, and this smell, mildew and old paper and something else underneath. Something sour. I was down there because I'd mouthed off to Coach Martinez. Detention. Me and 7 other kids, sitting at metal tables in what used to be the old cafeteria storage room. Wrote, "I will show respect to authority figures," 500 times. The supervisor was Mr. Coulson, the night janitor they pulled in for after-school duties. He sat by the door reading a paperback, radio on his belt set to low static. Every few minutes it crackled with chatter from maintenance or security. It was 4:15. Outside, through the small rectangular windows near the ceiling, I could see legs walking past. Regular dismissal. The sounds of lockers, voices, freedom. We still had 45 minutes. That's when Mr. Coulson's radio went off. All staff, we have a security situation. Initiating emergency protocol. If you're in the building with students, secure your location and await further instruction. Mr. Coulson stood up fast. His book hit the floor. Everyone away from the door. Now. We moved. You don't argue when an adult sounds like that. When their voice loses the board, going through the motions quality, and goes sharp. He locked a door, then pulled out his keys and locked a second deadbolt I didn't even know was there. His hands were steady, but his jaw was tight. "What's happening?" asked this girl, Becca, voice small. "Probably nothing. Just protocol." But he was looking at the windows. Those small windows where you could see feet passing by. Only now, there were no feet. The hallway above us had gone quiet. His radio crackled again. "Security breach at north entrance." Repeat, breach at north entrance. The individual is non-compliant and possibly armed. All personnel, secure and report locations, possibly armed. The room went cold. Mr. Coulson turned off the lights. We sat in the dark. The only illumination coming from those small windows and the green glow of the emergency exit sign. 8 of us, barely breathing, listening to the building settle and creak around us. Why the basement? Someone whispered, "Shouldn't we go up, find more people?" "Basement protocol," Mr. Coulson said quietly. "If there's an active threat, we secure down here. These doors are reinforced. We're off the main floors." We wait. Minutes passed. His radio stayed quiet now. Too quiet. Like everyone else was holding their breath too. Then we heard it. Footsteps. Not above us in the hallway. On the basement stairs. Coming down. Mr. Coulson moved to the door, peering through the small window. I saw his shoulders tense. "Get in the back room," he whispered. "All of you. Now. Don't make a sound." There was a smaller room behind us. Really just a closet with old desks and supplies. We filed in, cramming together, pulling the door almost closed. Through the crack, I could see Mr. Coulson standing by the entrance, radio in hand. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. Stopped, then slowly. Someone tried our door. The handle rattled. Once. Twice. Mr. Coulson didn't move, didn't call out, just stood there, watching. Then a voice. Male. Young. Strained. "I know someone's in there. I can hear you breathing." My lungs froze. Becca grabbed my hand. In the closet, pressed against each other in the dark, we were all holding the same breath. "I just need help," the voice again. Pleading now. "Please, someone's chasing me. I need you to let me in." It sounded real. It sounded terrifying. I felt myself start to move. Start to think maybe we should. Mr. Coulson shook his head. Slowly. Deliberately. He put a finger to his lips. "Please." The voice said. "I'm a student here. My name is Alex Reeves. I'm in 10th grade. I'm scared." The person outside started crying. Soft sobs. The kind that make your chest ache. The kind that sounds too real to fake. "Why won't you help me?" Then the crying stopped. Just stopped. And in the silence that followed, I heard it. The wet breathing. The same kind of breathing we'd heard outside the door in the first story. Only now I understood what it was. It wasn't crying. It wasn't fear. It was someone who'd been running. Someone who'd been hunting. "I can wait," the voice said. Normal now. Flat. "I've got all night." A shadow appeared under the door. He'd sat down. Right there. blocking the exit. We stayed in that closet for 3 hours. The police found us at 7:30. They had to convince Mr. Carlson to open the door, had to show badges through the window, and use the principal's voice on the radio before he'd turn the deadbolt. They never found anyone in the basement. No Alex Reeves in 10th grade. No intruder. But when they checked the security footage, they saw him, a figure in dark clothes, face obscured, moving through the basement hallway, standing at our door for exactly 3 hours and 12 minutes. And here's the part that still keeps me up. When they finally zoom in on the footage, trying to ID him, they realize something. His feet aren't quite touching the ground, not floating, just not making full contact. Like the video is glitching, or the angle is wrong, but the timestamp is solid. The footage is clean. Mr. Carlson requested a transfer the next week. I don't blame him. The worst lockdowns aren't the ones where you know what you're hiding from. They're the ones where you realize you should have run. Story 3. The choir room. I loved the choir room. It sounds stupid, but I did. It was the only place in school that felt like mine, like ours. Miss Pacheco kept it warm, kept the lights low during rehearsal so we could focus on the music instead of our anxiety. The rises smelled like old wood and rosin, and the piano was this beautiful upright that she'd touch so gently, like it might break. We were practicing for the winter concert. 15 of us, 7th and 8th graders, ran through O Come Emmanuel for probably the 20th time. My voice kept cracking on the high notes, and I was mortified. But Miss Pacheco just smiled and said, "You're trying, Lena. That's what matters." It was 6:45 p.m. The winter concert rehearsal ran late on Thursdays. Most of the school was empty, just us, the basketball team in the gym, and a few teachers grading in their rooms. Then the lights cut out. Not slowly, not flickering, just gone. Emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in that sickly red glare. Power outage, Miss Pacheco said calmly. Everyone stay put. I'll check the breaker. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. We sat in the dark, some kids joking nervously, others pulling out their phones for light. But mine didn't work. No signal, no data. I tried turning it off and back on. Nothing. Is anyone else's phone dead? I asked. One by one, they checked. All dead. Every single one. That's when we heard the announcement. It came through the intercom, but it was wrong. The voice was robotic. Text to speech, like someone had typed the words instead of speaking them. Lockdown. Active threat in building. Do not leave your location. Do not make noise. Do not use phones, then static. That's not how they do announcements, whispered Tyler. He was an 8th grader, cocky, always trying to impress people. But his voice shook now. We waited for Miss Pacheco to come back. She didn't. 5 minutes. 10. The emergency lights made everything look wrong. Shadows to deep. Faces to pale. Someone started crying quietly. I moved to the door, pressed my ear against it. The hallway was silent. Miss Pacheco, I called softly. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps. Not hers. Too heavy. Moving slow, methodical. Stopping at doors. Pausing, moving on. Getting closer. Everyone get down, I hissed. Behind the risers. Now. We scrambled, squeezing into the space between the risers and the back wall. It was cramped, dusty, barely enough room for all of us. I was pressed against the wall, feeling the cold cinder block through my shirt, listening to 15 people trying not to breathe too loud. The footsteps stopped outside our door. The handle turned. Slow. Testing. The door was locked. Miss Pacheco always locked it during rehearsal to keep random kids from wandering in. But this person didn't leave. We heard them breathing, heard the door creak as they leaned against it. Then came the knocking. Not normal knocking. Rhythmic. Deliberate. 4 knocks, pause. 4 knocks, pause. Over and over. Like a code. Like they were trying to communicate something. What do they want? Someone whispered. Shut up, Tyler hissed back. The knocking stopped. Silence. Long, horrible silence. Then the intercom crackled again. This is not a drill. The threat has entered the south wing. If you can reach an exit, run. If you cannot, hide. Do not trust anyone. Do not trust anyone. That's when I realized. Miss Pacheco had been gone for 20 minutes. Tyler moved first, crawled out from behind the risers, started toward the door. What are you doing? I grabbed his ankle. I'm checking if they're gone. We can't just sit here, Tyler, no. But he was already at the door, looking through the small window. His face changed, went from scared to confused to something else. Something worse. Oh my God, he breathed. What is it? He backed away from the door, shaking his head. We need to go, right now. We need to find another way out. Tell us what you saw. He looked at me, eyes wide. Miss Pacheco is out there. She's just standing there, not moving, and there's someone behind her. We used the window. The choir room had one of those long horizontal windows that opened outward. It was high up, maybe 8 feet of the ground outside, but we didn't have a choice. Tyler and 2 other guys pushed the risers over, created a platform. One by one, we climbed out into the December night. I went last. As I was pulling myself up, I looked back. Miss Pacheco was standing in the doorway. She'd unlocked it somehow, just standing there in the red emergency light, perfectly still, her face completely blank. And behind her, I didn't see who it was. Just a shape, a silhouette, taller than her, watching us with a stillness that made every instinct in my body scream. I dropped out the window, landed hard on the frozen ground. We ran, all 15 of us, sprinting across the parking lot toward the lights of the strip mall across the street. I kept expecting to hear footsteps behind us, to feel a hand grab my shoulder, but there was nothing. Just our ragged breathing and the sound of our shoes on the pavement. Police found us in the CVS. We were all shaking, several kids crying, one girl hyperventilating into a paper bag the pharmacist gave her. They searched the school. Found nothing. No intruder. No threat. Miss Pacheco was in her car, parked in the teacher's lot. She'd been there the whole time, apparently, grading papers. She seemed confused when they questioned her. Said she'd gone to her car to get something from her bag and decided to just work there when the power went out. She had no memory of coming back into the building. They checked the security footage. That's what they told us anyway, to reassure our parents. But they never showed it to us, never explained what they saw or didn't see. I went back to school 3 days later. I walked past the choir room. The door was closed, lights off, but I could see through the small window, just barely, and I noticed something that made my blood freeze. The risers were still pushed over, still arranged on a platform beneath the window, exactly how we'd left them. Nobody had been in that room to clean up. Nobody had seen the evidence of our escape. And if Miss Pacheco really had been in her car all night, then who unlocked the door? Who stood in the doorway and watched us climb out into the dark? I switched to band the next semester. The choir room stays locked now, even during school hours, and sometimes late in the evening when I'm leaving practice. I see the emergency lights on in there, red light glowing through the window. For knocks, pause, for knocks. Someone is still trying to communicate. Check your exits before you need them.